hello, and cape things not good.
If,
Welcome,
I don't like cape stuff.
cape item.
I really don't like having to call it that.
I don't even like having to call it that. But
Oh,
welcome
nice.
to another episode of Shittywebcomics Weekly, brought to you by our Subscribe Star backers. Become a human again and learn the unforgivable truths that everyone else in comics doesn't want you to know. The SJWs, the secret SJWs who pretend they're anti-SJW, you are being psyoped by all of them right now, and the only cure for that is us. As usual, that's always been true, and that's being proven right now. All of the predictions we have said in our Subscribe Star videos have been proven true over the past year. What are we going to say last year or this year that people will find out is true in the coming years? Only way to find out is to become Pay Pig on our Subscribe Star. Become the
Okay.
pig of pay. And speaking of pigs, uh,
Perks.
getting back to this caked up Thoticus, I mean, this nice lady, this delightful, charming lady. From the cover of the Sigmas, I want to do one tiny extra video just on my own for myself, for my own. Because, like, the first one, it was linked to us, and the guy was like, hey, check out the comic. And I was like, we could do a video about this. Yay! I want to do a second extra video about this just to go over kind of maybe a mild criticism I have is that here's the cover with a attractive blonde, sort of almost caked up tomboy and stuff. But I read the entire issue here, and it's got a story. It's got stuff. It's got the characters. There's so much stuff. Hey, is
It
that?
does seem like there's a lot of tomboys in the comics and art recently.
Yeah.
A whole lot more tomboys. Tomboys are becoming very popular lately. I
But
wonder why.
here's one problem. Here's one interesting problem that I think about this comic is that the chick on that cover, she doesn't show up in the book,
Yeah.
except she doesn't physically show up as a character in the book. Here's
If I
page
was going
12
to
though. I think this
seriously
is
critique
Helen.
this comic,
Is
if I
this
was
Helen
actually
from
seriously
on
going
page
to
12
have
though?
criticisms about the comic, it would be that the entire plot of the entire first issue so far
Yeah,
has
that's the
nothing to
thing
do
is
with
that
what seems to be the main characters.
I'm not sure who the main characters are supposed to be. That's basically the criticism. Here though is this who is this? Oh no, he throws her glasses up on top of the locker. Lol. She's in love. Anyways. But yeah, you go through this and it's all these side characters. The demon girl who is apparently becoming a demon against her will, and also gigantic tits. But you can see. I'm not going to skim through the whole comic, but the it's all these stories, and I want to get to here. The hero of World War One, stronger than she's a superhero. So I guess there's some cape shit that I do like in here. But again, this character doesn't show up except here. And it's like, these are the Sigmas. They helped win World War One. There's no guy who's made out of bees, unfortunately, but still.
That's always a downside.
Yes.
It's always a lacking element of any fiction.
And it's also like, okay, so who is this? She's mentioned clearly to set up where she'll have some bearing on the story later, I guess, but the entire first issue is just the only time she shows up. It's established also, by the way, that she is Catholic, devout Catholic, like us. Oh, okay.
Now, this is getting super basted, I guess.
Yeah, so this is, I mean, it's interesting because it's like, okay, how is this going to play into the story? It doesn't at all in the first issue. So that's kind of my criticism is we don't we don't even know if she will show up. We just see that there's the teacher is telling this story. It does also establish that there is inherently supernatural stuff aside from the girl at the beginning who's becoming a demon or whatever. It establishes that there already were superheroes back in World War One. So there is world building here. The only thing is, it's
That
like,
is actually
is
one
this
thing I
girl
was
going to
thinking
show
about
up?
my own comic. is because a lot of questions actually got asked about that
It's hard to
by
set
the artist
up
even.
a first issue that's going to have the whole thing, because when you have a first, but that's
Yeah, I
also
can
one of the
forgive
big
that. I want
problems
people to
is
understand. Well, we like write the page 10 rule and the
yes,
page 1 rule. That's kind of more important than making sure I understand every element of your world building.
yeah, but also yeah, that's another problem with indie comics is 99% of indie comics are like the first issue could be 20 pages or 50 pages, but they don't set up any story. And then the next issue, it's like, okay, they're setting up this, the conflict is certainly going to happen in the next issue, and then it doesn't. So when you try to do that, when you are like, okay, I got this first issue is all set up, but the second one is going to be the actual payoff, people kind of psychologically have already tuned out because of everyone else's comics sucking and ruining it for you.
Not to
The
bring up
practices in indie comics are ruining indie comics for the actual
not to bring
creators.
up ISOM in every single fucking thing that we cover, everything we
But
do.
it's relevant. It is pertinent. ISOM is a perfect
I
example
mean,
of
think about
ruining
the
comics
first
for everyone
page.
else.
The first page and the first 10 pages of ISOM
Yeah.
is basically people talking, people standing around and talking, and shots of like the city that don't help but don't do anything. Like the very first page is just the front of a building.
Yeah, it's not even an establishing shot. It's just the front of a
Yes,
building
because
that
you
says
don't
2 weeks
actually
ago.
know. For all it matters, the very next page takes place somewhere else.
Yes.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, because it doesn't even
It doesn't
say
even say.
what
I
building
think
it
it's a.
is.
I think this is another really bad part. I think it's a police building. We don't know.
Yeah, they don't really establish anything. And then they just cut to the interior of another building that doesn't seem to be related. It's not the visual continuity of it is disconnected because again, it's just a bunch of traced 3D models, and that at least in this comic here, the Sigmas, this is still more coherent. I'm like, okay, here's this chick. Here's clearly the main character, but she's just the only time you see her is the teacher is telling a story about how she was in World War One, and that's it. And it's like, okay, so is that all we're going to see of her? And that's all we see of her in this issue. Are we going to see her in the next issue? I don't know, but because all other indie comics don't do that. Other indie comics that are being infiltrated basically by failed industry veterans and people who are taking incompetent industry practices and bringing them to the indies. It's ruining the actual creators who have an actual story to tell that are having to space things out and be like, okay, I'm fitting all this stuff into the first issue, and some stuff probably could have been cut in the first issue here, but because it's a webcomic, your investment is just time instead of also having to pay money.
Yeah, imagine being charged on top of the honor for being able to read like
Yeah,
fucking
$35. Imagine if you had to pay $35 for
yeah.
this. That's another practice that is
I still
ruining
want to
indie
pay.
comics.
I still want to pay $35 for this comic, but no one should ever have to pay that much for a comic unless it's like all of Berserk.
Yeah.
If it's the entirety of Berserk,
Yeah,
that
you
would
could
actually be
find
a really good
yeah
price
a
for the
Berserk
entirety of
phone
Berserk.
book, a phone book sized omnibus of Berserk would be $35.
How much did that Stray Bullets cost you?
That one was, I think, closer to $60, but that's
But yeah,
40
that is
issues.
literally a phone. It's actually bigger than a phone book.
Yes, it is bigger than a phone book, and it's mine, all mine.
And it's better than ISOM.
Yeah. And again, I actually have that because I already read the thing. To me, it is more of a collector's thing, but it's to show some, because I pirated all of Stray Bullets. But I'm like, well, here, if I buy the phone book, it's like I paid money for it. So I bought the phone book. The Stray Bullets omnibus, that is, phone book. But yeah, that's the thing about the
phone book, but Stray Bullets.
The concept of this is that There again, I have some criticisms about like the cover girl, the chick on the cover for this comic, just shows up in a couple of pages, where you're implied. You get the implication because of the implication, but you get the implication that she's going to have some later payoff in the story, but you have no idea how or what or why, because it's kind of a non sequitur when she's introduced. But again, it's the implication is very heavy. But even with that, the rest of the stuff in the story is, while completely unrelated, it's still engrossing to some degree, and there are all these other characters who have all these other interactions and so on. And so that's what kept me reading. And I was like, okay, what's going on with these other people? So aside from the fact that what I thought was the main character isn't really showing up, I was like, okay, well, what's going on with these other characters at least? So that's at least a positive, whereas in most other comics, you don't even see that. You'll never see some kind of payoff with the other characters. There's actual character stuff going on, whereas if you read, for instance, Isom or Cuber Frigg or pretty much every other Comicsgate comic, there isn't even that much story across double the amount of pages. This one's about 40 to 50 pages,
and
actually.
quite simply, even if I was paying, like if I was paying $1 to read this, would I want to keep reading after what I've read so far? And the answer is yes.
Yeah, I would at least pay a couple bucks to be like, well, what happens? When is the main chick going to show up? The Sigma, where are the actual Sigmas? And I do have to say, though, as a criticism, your first issue, whatever it is, should have more of what, maybe not the main characters, but if it's called the Sigmas, you should show the Sigmas more than just some kind of flashback where somebody's talking about how they once existed.
It was like the one page of that and then like another 10 pages of something else.
Yeah, well, I think it's like 40 pages overall of a lot of the other characters. Now, I still have some investment in the other characters. I'm like interested in what they're doing.
But then it wasn't really 40 pages. I mean,
it says I'm at 32 right now, and let's see, the next one is 34, so it's counting doubles.
Certainly very easy to read.
36. So again, this might go up to, I think this goes up to 50 because this isn't done yet. So again, you can check it out. Yeah, it is an easy read. Also, it's the compositions are readable. It's relatively simple, but also look decent enough, which is good. There's a lot more I could say about that too.
Like I'm almost having to insult it by comparing it to Cyberfrog.
Yeah, again.
Right? Stuff like doesn't get really obvious panel layout elements wrong.
Yeah, the moon doesn't get cut off by a power line in the background, stuff like that. But yeah, there's a lot more we could go into this, but I just wanted to do this extra second video just to actually discuss the video in the comic in more depth.
It's easy content.
Yes.
It's like, true. Oh wow, it's a free webcomic that's actually pretty good.
Plus, it's like we're actually reviewing comics. Wow.
I wonder if we should. I'm kind of wondering if we should read, what was it, like Danger Zone 1 or something? Danger Zone 0?
Oh yeah, somebody else was linking to that, but yeah, I don't know. I don't actually have a link to that. I don't think
it's straight up porn, but it's like really good artistry.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about reviewing a Spunky Night and stuff too. It's like, well, I'd have to find just the right panels, of course. This is also funny. Is like, here's a flashback, and it's this guy back when he had shorter hair, and it's like she just keeps talking, and she's saying, and that's why I think Ted Kaczynski did what he did. There's some funny stuff. Again, that's also what helped keep me invested in the story and the writing.
There's some good dialogue.
Yeah, there's some actual pretty funny things in this. And yeah, I think it's Helen from Literally's on page 12.
Oh, well, this is officially the best comic.
I think that's my assumption. Perhaps that's my bias. But yeah, I do. And also, I guess, conflict of interest. So when I say that I recommend this comic, but again, I do want to still point out that there are things. It is tricky. It's not just that the Sigmas don't really show up in this comic, but where is some space for them to show up? Something else would have to be cut, which is really, that's the hardest part, is figuring out what and why, and what if you can't. Then sometimes you really do have to wait for a second issue. This one's kind of a double-sized one too, so it's already pretty long. But so one of the things to always consider is you want to put your mains doing something in your main story in your first issue. And the question is how and where and why.
You don't necessarily need to do it, but I mean, it's got to be if you're promising that
if you don't,
have this person,
the reader assumes that your story's going nowhere, though, automatically, and especially because so many other people in comics don't have their stories go anywhere. The second issue just derails, and it's like for instance, if the second book didn't have the Sigmas at all, or that main chick at all, then it would be like, okay, why did you call it the Sigmas? What's this chick? And most people then
what is a Sigma?
wouldn't give it a third book.
I really admit that was very confusing to me. It's like, it's called the Sigmas. This is about superheroes. The first 10 pages has nothing to do with that.
The first 40 pages actually has nothing to do with it, except for two pages where they established that the Sigmas existed.
It's more like 10 pages.
Well, I'm reading through it right now. I'm 36 pages in. There was only 2 pages where they even
okay, and how many panels are there per page?
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6 to 7, or it's like 5 to 7. Well, so again, there's a lot. There is a lot that goes on that has nothing to do with the That's what I'm talking about. This entire video. That's what this video is all about.
Well, I didn't remember that.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that I kind of just remember the Sigma stuff.
I read the entire thing.
There's a lot of school drama in it, though. But again, there's little funny touches to it that actually did keep me reading. So it's like, it's a weird mix of genres, though, where it's like school drama romance, but also like monster horror, and then there's superhero stuff.
It's very anime.
Yes, which could be that could be a train wreck, but it works fine here because they are all kind of blended well. I could say, though, that it could have been mixed better. Like the horror stuff is, again, sort of disconnected from the school drama stuff. Lighting. And the romance stuff.
Use better lighting in the exterior shots.
Yes, we both think they could have used better lighting in the exterior. Really? You both came to that conclusion at the same time? Anyway, so yeah, I do still. I recommend this because it's an easy read, easy on the eyes in many, many ways. It is cute also, but I was actually pretty engrossed in the story to the degree where I would like to read a next part.
It's fun. It's a fun story.
It's fun. It's also sort of like
I don't know if we're selling it as being super heavy. This is really important, deep. No. That's not what it's trying to do.
And that's why I like it. It's generally lighthearted, but there are drama elements and stuff to keep the whole thing bound together.
There's one thing that I could actually criticize Common America for. It would be the fact that it gets very serious.
Yeah, sometimes it gets
this is heavy.
Sometimes it gets sad. There's sad parts of Common America.
Like actual emotions are evoked.
Yeah, what?
Aside from like a maniac glee.
Yes. Or
is that how they feel looking? Is that how Richard C. Meyer feels when he looks at Spider-Man totally kick a guy? Dude, it's so dope.
He punch guy and guy fall? Wow.
Because that doesn't, I do not feel that when I read that.
Well, it's like that. We did this video about comics failing at mayhem,
mindless mayhem, or even mindful mayhem, whatever.
There were some actual comics, not pros but experts, some like comics gods back in the 90s talked about how 90s comics were failing at appealing to the teenage market for mindless mayhem, and those videos have been on our Subscribestar basically since last year. At this point, are they
still there? Because those are really old videos that we did way back in the day.
And they're still there, and they are fantastic. They're insight that will tell you everything you really need to know about comics that other people don't understand. Nobody in Comicsgate has any comprehension of the truth, the brutal
It makes
truth
you
bombs
wonder,
laid down
why
in
would
that.
anyone ever false flag our channel just to remove it because we negatively reviewed their terrible, objectively
Yes,
bad
we're
comic?
sorry we disagreed about that terrible comic you made. But yeah, the if you want to see the truth, if you want to become a human again and learn the truth, donate to our Subscribe Star. If you don't
Don't
want
you
to know
want
the
to
truth,
become a
don't donate
human
to our
again?
Subscribe
Wouldn't you
Star.
rather become a human again?
Yeah, that's up to you ultimately. If you don't want to become a human again, if you don't want to know the truth, don't donate to our Subscribe Star. But if you do want those things, only $5 a month to become a human again? That seems like quite the bargain. By Grabthar's hammer, what a savings!
And, to be free of your visible Frankenstein controls.
Yes, if you want to free yourself, yes, of your visible
If you would like,
Frankenstein
or
control.
if you would like a copy of free Frankenstein controls sent to your home. For some
Yes.
reason, the key point seemed to be selling Frankenstein controls.
Would you like some Frankenstein controls? Personally, we don't have that. If you want some Frankenstein controls, go to Comicsgate. Go be told the lies, the comforting lies that you want to keep yourself delusional. Take the blue pill. But if you actually, take the blue pill if you want to support Comicsgate. But if you want to
Swallow the blue suppository.
if you want to swallow the red sunglasses from They Live, subscribe and donate to us on Subscribe Star to get access to all the videos that tell you the truth that nobody else wants you to know. And for everyone else, should have listened to Shitty Webcomics.